This is Orlando Wilson. What I want to talk about in this video is something to do with self-defense, and to me it's a very important consideration for self-defense. And I've got a couple of other videos up that talk about considerations for self-defense, etc. Because a while back there was some stupid conversations going around on social media whether self-defense, unarmed combat skills are relevant for close protection. If you think they're not, then I'll say you don't belong in the close protection world. I understand that a lot of people teaching, if you look in the British SIA program, etc., close protection program, that's based on police protection, military protection techniques, and those people don't usually come into contact with situations where they need to use self-defense. But I'll tell you, from the commercial close protection world, you need to understand use of force. You need to understand the laws on use of force in the places where you're working, and you need to be able to defend yourself and defend your client. Okay, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and a friend of theirs is in big trouble because this guy, I think he was working as a bouncer somewhere in a bar, escorting somebody out the bar, pushed them, they slipped, and the person they slipped was apparently a big guy, and as he went down and hit the floor, his head bounced off the table, and what should have been a simple ejection from a bar turned out the person that ejected him, the person that pushed this guy, is now has big problems, because when the guy's head hit the table, he fractured his skull, he's in hospital, big mess. This is where, whenever you're using use of force, and again, this is a basic, yeah, you should always use the appropriate amount of force, but you need to be aware of what's going on. You need to be aware of the environment around you. And I've detailed this in other videos and other articles. We talk about this on our courses, that you need to be aware of your environment. You need to be aware that there's nothing in your environment that can be used against you. Things you can be pushed over, things that can be used as weapons against you, and things you can use against your opponent. To me, that's a basic. I know a lot of times when you're in a heated situation, it's difficult. Your mind's thinking about, again, you don't want to get pissed off, but if you are pissed off, you're thinking about slapping the other person, and you don't want to get slapped yourself. But you need to do that quick situational assessment, environmental assessment, because that can be used against you, and you can use that against your opponent. Now, I've mentioned this in other videos. The type of all self-defense training is good as long as it's realistic. I'm not a big guy. I'm not big on grappling, etc. I'm not big on jiu-jitsu. But again, it's very relevant depending on the environments you're working in, depending on the type of security you're providing. If you're working in Western Europe, etc., okay, grappling skills might be a lot better than striking skills, because it's more of an arrest and detention type environment, where if you're working in the emerging markets, you have an issue, you just want to knock the motherfucker out and get out of there as quickly as possible, depending on the situation. So this is where your self-defense training needs to be relevant for the environments you're working in. But again, you've got to be very careful these days, because you've got to remember, and again, you've got to remember, if you're dealing with the situation in a lot of places, that person that you're in a confrontation with, they're your responsibility. If they get hurt, it's down to you. Even down to stuff where, again, this pops up often in the United States with the police, people die from positional asphyxiation. The person's arrested, they're put in a position where they can't breathe, usually overweight people, etc. And again, they end up dying from positional asphyxiation. You know what? You need to understand, especially from the private security perspective. A lot of times, the police will be given leeway. From a private security perspective, if somebody you're dealing with, if somebody you've detained until they're arrested, or somebody you've made a citizen's arrest on, dies from positional asphyxiation, you're looking at a manslaughter charge. In a lot of places, you're going to be in big shit, and the police will be more than happy to charge you with as much as possible, because it's extra brownie points for them. So this is one of the big issues these days. Well, it's always been an issue with self-defense. You know what, over the years, I've knocked people down, I've been knocked down, etc. I've been very, very lucky. Looking back, I've been very, very lucky. But again, you always need to take the environment you're working in into consideration. And again, if there's going to be a situation where you're going to take somebody to the floor, or where somebody possibly could go to the floor, if you hit somebody, if you push somebody, they slip, you mean it's best to grab them or try and ease the impact of their fall, rather than them hitting the floor, their head bouncing off the floor, or in this case, the guy's head bouncing off the table, and now you're possibly looking at a manslaughter charge or a heavy assault charge and jail time. So self-defense is essential, but there's a lot more to it than just being able to fight. You have to understand, as I say in other videos, the laws on use of force, how to give statements to the police, and how to do things so you don't get hurt, and you minimize, if you want to, you minimize the injuries to the person that you're having to deal with. So just some thoughts there on self-defense. Anyway, in the meantime, follow me along on social media. I got a lot more of these videos up. As I say, I've got, I think, another 2 videos up at least that talk about self-defense. I got an array of articles up. I got an array of books on Amazon that talk about various aspects of the security, close protection business, kidnap and ransom, etc., etc. And we've also got a Telegram channel where we post more graphic videos we can't post on mainstream media. And we're not just posting them to look at gore. From the situations that's depicted in the videos, you can see how things work in the real world, and that needs to be encompassed within your training. There's a lot of people out there, especially teaching self-defense, that's never been in a fight, but they're out there teaching people how to, well, it's the same with tactical firearms. There's how many people out there teaching tactical firearms that's never carried a firearm, let alone done anything, carried a firearm for self-defense, let alone anything else. So again, keep your training as relevant as possible, and, you know what I mean, research the environments you're working in and assess the type of techniques you're going to be needing to work in those environments. So, as I said, follow me along on social media. I like X these days, but we're up on all the mainstream platforms. Check out the articles, check out the videos, and as always, try to be good and try to stay out of trouble. But again, it's very, very easy to get into a lot of trouble these days. Well, it always has been. It's very easy to get into trouble, but if you're professional, you know how to get out of trouble and avoid the trouble in the first place, right? Cheers.